I want to talk to you about leadership today. Leaders in a time of crisis set examples. They set examples that favor the people and not necessarily themselves. Unfortunately, in the state of South Dakota, we've seen way too many examples of just the opposite. We've talked about the decision in making priorities about Valhalla versus the Black Hills Playhouse. We know that this administration closed the Black Hills Playhouse because they couldn't come up with $250,000 to renovate the sewer system, and this administration then put $250,000 into a sewer system for the summer playhouse of the governor, called Valhalla. We know that this administration failed to exercise leadership when it came to reducing the number of airplanes we have in the state of South Dakota, 3 of which are just for the governor and lieutenant governor and their staff, at a time when other states are selling their airplanes, such as California, where Arnold Schwarzenegger has no state airplanes. South Dakota refuses to part with even one, which we know we could sell for $1.8 million and pump that into fixing crumbling roads and bridges. Leadership requires that decisions be made in a selfless way that benefit the people and not necessarily the leaders themselves. What we see in South Dakota today, though, in the example we're going to talk about now, is even more dramatic. What we've done and what we bring to you in the information packets is that we took the 19 people who are under the immediate control of this administration, the Rounds-Daugaard administration. That is cabinet secretaries, the chief of staff to the governor, etc., and they're all set out right here. And we took the salaries that they were making at the beginning of the Rounds-Daugaard administration, and then using the budget book and online, we took the salaries that those positions are now making, and that's on this sheet. And you'll see the increase in all of those positions and the percentage increase. The percentage increase for those 19 positions in state government is 31.63% over those 8 years. That's a startling fact, particularly when you look over here and you see what's going on in terms of state government. State government has increased by 53% during the Rounds-Daugaard administration. As I told you before, the 19 executive salaries of non-regental positions has gone up almost 32% in that same period of time. Inflation has gone up 20.2% over those 8 years, according to the Consumer Price Index. But the increase in state employee pay, the non-exempt employees, has gone up only 17.4%. I want to make one point right off the bat. When I'm governor of South Dakota and money permits, these folks aren't getting the increases. These folks are getting the increases. Now, who are these people down here in the state employee pay non-exempt category? Well, we know that almost 1,000 of them live in poverty or at a poverty level wage. Of those 980 to be precise, 151 of them are secretaries. 127 of them are mental health aides. 13 are driver's license examiners. 24 are nurses, aides, and military or Veterans Affairs installations. 64 of them are custodial workers. These are people who are making less than $11 an hour, less than what is the poverty level for a breadwinner for a family of 4. And that's the state of South Dakota. Can you imagine just the increase for one position, say the chief of staff, who went from $85,000 to $145,000, a $60,000 increase? How many increases could we have paid for 127 mental health aides with that $60,000? The priorities of this administration are flipped. They are upside down, and this is just another example. Again, these are the folks who should not be getting the increases, and these are the folks who should be getting the increases to the extent the dollars are available. A leader would set that example. A leader would make that clear. I want to just point out 3 things about this information that I think is noteworthy. It's not just the priorities reflected in rewarding 19 people and telling all of these people that for the last 2 years you have no increase at all. But if you look at the final columns over here, you'll see what happens with the increase in tax dollars that are paid to these 19 individuals. They make contributions to the existing administration's campaign to perpetuate its hold on state government. Here are the contributions that they have made, just 19 of those people, and here is the percentage increase that that contribution represents against their pay increase. Fully 11.8% of the increase in pay has now been paid back to the administration in campaign contributions. This in and of itself is inexcusable, but this is just plain wrong. I want to point out three things. One, there is an almost surgical precision to the amount of contributions of these 19 folks. $4,000, Jason Dilges. $4,000, Jeff Bloomberg. $4,000, Jerry Hofer. $4,000, Tim Reich. $4,000, Steve Perner, and on and on and on. Each year, a $1,000 contribution to the Daugaard campaign, beginning in 07, 08, 9, and now 10. And this is only current through May of this year. As Dave Knutson pointed out in the Republican primary, he believed that fully $250,000 had been contributed to the Daugaard campaign as of May in the primary. Who knows how big that figure is now that we're in late September in a general election. $500,000, $750,000. We will know when the report is filed. I think it's October 24th. But between now and then, we don't know how much of these contributions have actually increased from the time that they were made. The precision of those dollar amounts is striking, and I suggest to you is not a coincidence. Second, do we have other examples in state government of this sort of conduct? These are 19 people who work directly for the governor of South Dakota and have made contributions to the governor of South Dakota campaign, or the Daugaard campaign, of $62,500. You know, there are 19 other state employees that I can think of. They work for the Legislative Research Council. They are individuals who do the work for those of us in the legislature. I cannot imagine any person on the Legislative Research Council staff making a political contribution to any one of us who are served by them. And yet, that's our entire staff. In my 12 years in the legislature, I have never heard of anyone on the LRC staff making a political campaign contribution. It wouldn't be illegal, but it just is frowned on in terms of the relationship between the people who are served with research needs and those who do it. But not apparently in the executive branch of government. That's the second thing I'd point out. But finally, the third thing I'd point out is this is a revolving door, and unless we change administrations, this will continue. Do not expect this to stop if we re-elect the current administration to another 4 years in Pierre, South Dakota. It is ongoing and it will continue. These are taxpayers' dollars that go to supposedly provide services to the people of South Dakota. These dollars find their way into campaign contributions, which are designed solely to perpetuate the current administration, which decides on who to employ in these 19 positions. And on and on and on the circle goes. Dennis Daugaard's campaign commercials carry a disclaimer. They say paid for by the Daugaard campaign. They may just as well say paid for in part by the taxpayers of South Dakota.